So, not long ago, a mod was released for a game that's an old favorite of mine, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Yeah, I know, it's likely you probably haven't heard of it. It was kind of a niche title back when it released. It struggled to sell a measly 17 million or so units during its lifespan, and its developer, an obscure indie studio by the name of Rockstar Games, hasn't made a new game in years. Seemingly now they're obsessed with sharks or cards or card sharks maybe? I don't know, I'm not sure what the deal is there. Although apparently they remembered they are in fact a game developer, and developers are supposed to develop games. So it looks like they're finally throwing something together, and it's said to be releasing this year. I wouldn't hold my breath it'll make much of a splash though, given their track record. I imagine this one too will fly under the radar. Though I'll probably get it, I always like to support their non-shark related endeavors. Oh, wait a minute. I think a little nuance was lost there. When I said Grand Theft Auto is unknown, what I meant was it's one of the most successful franchises on the planet, and the upcoming release of GTA 6 is likely to be a bigger deal than humanity's first encounter with an alien race. I think I was confusing GTA with that other game where you're an outlaw seeking redemption and stealing horses. You all know the one I mean. Barbie's Horse Adventure, a game that's no doubt sold dozens of copies. Dozens! Anyway, I digress. We were talking about Vice City, a game I bought on launch when it released in 2002.
I was there 3,000 years ago.
God, I'm starting to grow suspicious I may not be quite as young as I once was. Sobering realizations aside, Vice City is a game I know very well, having played through it numerous times over the years. So when news reached me that a small team of modders have ported the entire game onto the Rage engine, you know, the tech that powered Rockstar's magnum opus? Table tennis? Oh, and also I guess Grand Theft Auto 4.
Well, since you put it that way, I mean...
Yeah, you could say I was intrigued. It would seem the mod also caught Rockstar and Take-Two's attention as well, as Takedown Interactive was kind enough to help Revolution Team with the total removal of their YouTube channel. Classy stuff, guys. You really put those passionate fans in their place. Now, while Take-Two may be completely and utterly lacking in class, I know the same can't be said of you fine people watching this video, who I'm sure will take a moment to click the like button and maybe even subscribe, because you guys are the real Rockstars. In many ways, it's understandable why Rockstar would take issue with this mod, given the quality of release of the Grand Theft Auto Defective Edition and how embarrassingly incompetent Grove Street Games' efforts turned out to be. And while steps have been taken to fix it post-release, it's still got a sting that just 4 guys working together
in a cave! With a box of scraps!
Okay, that last part may not be substantiated, have managed to do what Rockstar should have done in the first place. From what I understand, Revolution Team are based out of Russia, so despite attempts to stop them, it seems like there's nothing old Takedown can actually do, which is why the team made the mod available anyway. I wish more mod teams of any game would go about it this way. Too many promising mods have been shut down in their infancy due to overbearing rights holders. Maybe modders need to start working on their mods in secret, not announcing them until they're ready. Also, living in Russia, while not something I'd normally recommend, it may in fact be of benefit in this situation. And hey, if any of those modders out there want to do a similar next-gen version of GTA 3 or San Andreas, that wouldn't go amiss. Originally, it was required to have GTA 4 already installed on your system in order to even run the mod. However, that's no longer the case, as it appears the Revolution team may have been a little unhappy with the situation and how they were treated. So they made available an installer that's totally standalone and not dependent on any other game to work, which means it's almost the entire Vice City game, music and all, ready to install. That said, I won't be providing any direct links to the download because I don't want to run afoul of the old boys at Takedown Interactive, but it's out there, and on a completely unrelated note, Google exists? This mod is something I never even knew I wanted. You got your GTA 4 and my Vice City.
I'm Strauss Zelnick. What happened here?
He got
Vice City.
on my
GTA 4.
he got
GTA 4.
in my
Vice City.
They quite figuratively mashed them together. So while this is the game Vice City, with all the story missions, collectibles, and most of the side content intact, it now plays and feels like GTA 4, from the driving, to the shooting, to the physics, and beyond. Even the HUD looks straight out of GTA 4, but with a Vice City color palette. Remember that impressive Euphoria physics engine? Well, now it's on full display in Vice City with all the ragdoll animations and hilarious attempts of NPCs to hold on to anything in the world to stop from falling, like when police grab onto your car door, holding on for dear life, which often ironically results in their death. Furthermore, the gunplay in the game is also now rated to GTA 4, with the ability to take cover behind objects and aim any weapon in third person, with gunfights feeling far more kinetic in a way they previously couldn't. In fact, movement in general feels much more weighted, be it walking around, running, or driving. It's like going from Nathan Drake to Marcus Phoenix. You'll find Tommy can now do many things he couldn't before, including mantling walls and ledges, allowing you to climb up to areas that were previously inaccessible. You can now even answer your phone while driving, a feat Rockstar thought impossible in the early 2000s.
Hola, is this
Mr. Versetti.
This mod also showed me something I never thought I'd see.
A world without sin.
A world where Tommy Versetti can swim. So, of course, I decided to go for a swim to the second island before unlocking it, and was promptly eaten by a shark. Okay, that didn't work. Let's use a boat.
Serving the public with everything that isn't.
The boat broke down, did it? Okay, fine. I'll swim the rest of the way. Oh good, the shark's back. You son of a bitch. Okay, you win this round, Revolution Team. You just thought of everything, didn't you? This weighted feel also affects the driving. Gone is the arcadey feel of cars from the 3D series, replaced with GTA 4's more simulation-style, slower and lumbering acceleration, along with its much stiffer handling. But we do now also get those glorious vehicle ejects. Somewhat as an odd counterpoint to the previous statement, while driving feels much more weighted, it's almost the direct opposite when it comes to some jumps and the insane amount of air you can get with them. Another big divergence from the original, and a difference any player of the old 3D series games will notice right away, is the implementation of GTA 4's wanted system, removing the police bribe pickups altogether in favor of the search radius system that increases in size depending on your current wanted level. Speaking of pickups, no longer are they represented as glowing, floating icons rotating in the air. Like in GTA 4, armor, weapons, health, and even hidden packages are all planted firmly on the ground, though for some reason the packages only seem to appear when you're within 10 or 15 feet of them. When you consider all the advancements to the tech that GTA 4 ran on when compared to Vice City, it's kinda crazy when you stop and realize the two game releases are only separated by about 5.5 years. The Rage engine really was a big step forward in defining what an open world game could be, so it's pretty awesome that we now get to see it being used to bring Vice City to life, which is made all the more vibrant due to an ENB that comes pre-installed with the mod. It can be disabled from the launcher before starting the game, though I found I really preferred the look of Vice City with it left enabled. At the time of recording this video, I've now played a pretty good chunk of this mod, I'd guess somewhere around 15 to 20 hours or so. While I haven't completed the story yet, I've played far enough to take down Diaz and make a dent in several of the property asset missions, as well as completing all available side missions. That is to say, I've got a pretty good feel for this Next-Gen edition by now, and I do feel it's quite enjoyable, but it's certainly not without its faults. It has some minor, but nonetheless irritating bugs or omissions that would be nice to see resolved. For example, when launching the game, certain settings will not remember their save status from the last time. I was playing on controller, and I play with look inverted, so every time I started the game, I needed to re-enable inversion and controller vibration. Every single time. Additionally, while all story missions are playable, their mission titles never show at the beginning of the cutscenes, which, sure, doesn't really matter, but as a strange knock-on effect of this, or maybe it's an unrelated coincidence, when saving your game, all saves are titled the exact same, Save Vice City Next-Gen Edition, rather than the name of the last mission completed. I wonder if this is perhaps some limitation of modding on the Rage engine that they just couldn't overcome, or maybe it's just something that has a simple fix. Who knows, it just seemed kinda weird. I also noticed that while in-game stats still exist, they only partially track, as it's actually just GTA 4's stat screen stapled onto Vice City, as evident from several references to Liberty City throughout. Some stats like number of deaths, times busted, playtime, bullets fired, and a slew of others are tracked, while things like game progress, missions passed, and number of saves made are not. And while certainly not game-breaking in any way, one of the first things I noticed when stepping out of the Ocean View Hotel is the light beam coming from the lighthouse could use some work, as it's currently lacking in any kind of fall-off, with a rather jarring endpoint. The game now supports an autosave feature at the end of each mission, which can be handy, especially considering that for some reason your wanted level is not cleared upon completion of said missions, the way it does in, well, basically every GTA game. Though also, for some reason, regardless of where the autosave took place, you'll always load back at Ocean Beach. Unfortunately, another annoying thing to do with the save system is when you make a save while wearing body armor, it'll be gone upon loading that save again. As a welcome addition, Ocean Beach now has 2 parking spaces out front to save vehicles like in GTA 4, though it appears to be the only location to have this. Also, when you park a vehicle in the garage, its door won't close until you leave the area, and when returning to it, it doesn't actually repair the vehicle in it, at least not until saving and loading again. However, I suppose a partially functional garage is better than 3 completely inaccessible, unusable garages that are apparently not a feature of the Hyman condo in this version. Also, maybe it's just me, but it feels like way more vehicles are locked by default now and set off an alarm when stolen, including Tommy's own Infernus in front of his mansion, every single time. Speaking of Tommy's mansion, as well as all other properties you can own, in this version we never see the groups of Vercetti gang members standing around guarding the place. Another minor gripe I have is with the driving camera. Vice City's camera was above and angled slightly down towards the vehicle, whereas GTA 4's camera is much lower down behind the vehicle and pointed straight forward, making it so your own vehicle can block your view of others on the road ahead of you. This is alleviated somewhat by switching to a more zoomed out camera, but I still often find myself tilting the camera forward to get more of an angle on the road. Speaking of the driving, this brings us to one of my bigger issues, which is the feel of the driving. This may not come as much of a surprise, given that driving in GTA 4 was one of its most divisive changes, and though I take issue with it in Vice City, I actually like 4's driving. Yes, it was very different, but I feel it worked well within the context of the more grounded and realistic world Rockstar had built with Liberty City. With that being said, the stiffer handling and much more weighted down and slow acceleration of the cars in Vice City just doesn't feel quite right. I always found myself missing that get in and go feel that Vice City did so well. The good news here is while writing this video, I did discover someone has released a mod for this mod, which significantly improves vehicle handling, making it feel a lot closer to the original Vice City. So if you're gonna play this, I would highly recommend the improved handling mod. Sadly, Tommy's movement when on foot also has some issues. While he is capable of greater levels of mobility, from climbing to climbing from swimming at one of the many platforms and ladders that are now dotted around the coastline to help you get back onto dry land. Regrettably, for all the climbing and swimming that rage giveth, it also taketh away. The casualty in this case, Tommy can no longer perform his iconic dropkick bike mount, which I gotta admit, I did find myself missing. The improved mobility does little to help getting around some of Vice City's larger indoor environments, such as the mall or Tommy's mansion, due to full-on sprinting being unavailable when indoors, making some missions much more difficult than they needed to be. This means when loading that save file that took away your body armor, you have an irritatingly long run back down to Tommy's basement to get another armor pickup. Speaking of pickups, the chainsaw is actually just a gun. You can see it's shooting bullets, even has an ammo counter, probably due to there not being a GTA 4 equivalent weapon to base it on, so it's a little less about carving someone up and a little more so shredding them at point blank range with a reskinned minigun. Unfortunately, the tank is also a casualty of the Rage engine. While it can be driven around, the inability to fire its cannon or even explode other vehicles upon contact takes a lot of the luster out of its appeal. I should also mention another weapon that poses a larger issue, as it can pretty consistently cause the game to crash, that being the sniper rifle. While I had experienced the odd crash here and there, it wasn't often enough to be a major issue. That is until I was playing the final assassination mission where when attempting to snipe one of the enemies, the game suddenly crashed. Not thinking much of this at the time, I loaded the game again, restarted the mission and took aim at the same enemy, and crashed again. At this point I recalled one of my previous crashes also happened as I had sniped someone. Upon testing this several times, standing at street level with the sniper rifle and zooming in, the game crashed every time. Oddly, it doesn't seem to happen, or happens less consistently, if aiming down from a rooftop. Also, I know of several instances where I've been able to use the rifle without crashing. Even in that spot where it crashed the first time, the second time was fine. But until this issue is hopefully fixed, you're probably better off avoiding the use of sniper rifles altogether. As I mentioned previously, all of the game's story missions are present and playable in the Next Gen edition, though somewhat annoyingly, most cutscenes will default Tommy back to his Hawaiian shirt look even if you went in wearing something else. Some missions have seen minor changes to make them work on the Rage engine, with many of them now a breeze to get through with the improved shooting mechanics, while others have actually gotten worse. Take for example everyone's favorite mission, Demolition Man. This mission has quite the reputation as being one of the most hated in the whole game, a reputation I personally have never really understood as I've not usually had that much difficulty with it. Well, that is until now. I don't know if Revolution Team was intentionally trolling or just doing it accidentally, because this mission is nearly unplayable now. For some reason, the mini RC helicopter now controls as though it were a full-size one, meaning the slightest correction you do to adjust your position in any direction will actually send you careening off by several feet. And for some reason, probably tied to the game thinking it's a full-size chopper, the camera often gets stuck at terrible angles while trying to fly around the building. And honestly, I thought for a while that this was going to end my playthrough right here if I couldn't progress the story beyond this point. Thankfully, on maybe my 10th try, I was able to finally complete it, and at least the cutscene of the building's destruction has been improved upon from the original. But getting there was an exercise in frustration made even worse by the fact that for some reason, some cutscenes are unskippable, such as this one explaining the mission, forcing you to sit through all 46 seconds of it every single time. And the issues didn't even stop there. The constant reloading I was doing for this mission also brought about another bug. I found if I ended up reloading my save after 2 or 3 times, it would kinda break the game and the world would not properly load around me. The only real fix here was to close the game and launch it anew. Also, the unskippable cutscenes are not limited to just this mission, as it seems to happen often during ones that play mid-mission. Not sure why this is, but it would be nice to see it addressed if ever there was a future update. I've also noticed issues with missions where the AI leaves a lot to be desired, such as when you're tailing them in a chase, like you do in the mission, The Chase, where in the original you do actually need to put at least a little effort into keeping up. In this version, the idiot driver moves at a snail's pace and seems insistent on crisscrossing back and forth with every damn car on the road. At his pace, he could probably just complete the mission by falling on foot. Or take the mission Jury Fury. Though not related to an AI bug, you're tasked with intimidating some jurors by damaging their vehicles. In the original, this only takes a few hits with a hammer to make your case. In this version, however, I had to exhaustingly beat the hell out of the car like it was a red-headed stepchild before the objective would finally deign to complete. I'm guessing this is due to vehicles being much tougher in GTA 4, but this is the kind of thing that could have done with some balancing to make it less of a grind. Then of course there's the mission referred to earlier, Shakedown, where you need to get to the mall and intimidate shop owners into paying protection by destroying their store windows. But due to Tommy's much slower rage-diffused running speed indoors, this becomes much more of a chore to manage within the time limit. It didn't occur to me until after finishing the mission though that it would have been a lot easier had I just brought along a bike. Some of the missions changed for the Nextgen edition are for ones where originally you'd fly a plane, but since GTA 4 didn't have planes, they've been replaced with choppers. Funny enough, the RC mission Bombs Away is made, somewhat ironically, a little easier, even with the retarded controlling RC helicopter, since it's easier to hover over your target and bomb them rather than trying to take them out with flybys. To contrast this, the Dildo Dodo mission, which would normally have us using the Skimmer seaplane with a fuel limit, now has us using the much slower Sparrow with the same fuel limit and horrendous checkpoint detection. Numerous times I flew directly through a checkpoint only to have it not register and require looping back, wasting further fuel. When I finally completed the mission, I had maybe around 5% fuel remaining, compared to well over 50% still remaining when playing on the Definitive Edition. Sadly, this wasn't the only movie studio mission to be a cause of irritation. The G-Spotlight mission also has some issues. Unlike in the original, bikes don't smash through windows so good, as I quickly found out when I plowed right into one. Bruised and battered, but still alive and undeterred, I went for another run, only to find the office had suddenly thrown a career fair or something as the way forward was now infested with civilians. When I finally weaved my way through them and made the jump, it was completely out of control. But shockingly, I survived it, only to have the angle for the next jump wrong and I ended up getting wasted anyway. On the next attempt, I shot out the window and continued onwards, but GTA 4's physics are much less forgiving, and the slightest bump will often see you thrown from the bike. At least the health pack is still on the hospital roof, as Tommy is likely to need it. For some reason though, Revolution Team changed the position of some checkpoints, which now makes it easier to overshoot them without realizing it, as I came to learn I had done with this one, which prevented the shortcut from unlocking. While I eventually did complete the mission, I see little reason why the checkpoints were moved in the first place, given their original placements made them hard to miss as you progressed. One of the more bizarre bugs I came across actually occurred a couple of times. After getting wasted and respawning at a hospital, Tommy was suddenly nowhere to be seen. Literally, his character model was invisible. I was still able to steal cars and amusingly hold weapons that would just float in the air. Oddly, after returning to the mansion and stepping through the front door, Tommy's model decided to rejoin us. Not sure what caused it, but this one was kind of funny. At this point, I think I've conveyed most of what I wanted to say about this mod, and hopefully you found the video informative or maybe even enjoyable. So if you could remember to leave a like and subscribe, it both helps to grow the channel and is really appreciated. I'm sure after all that, it may sound like I dislike the Next-Gen edition, but I assure you that's not the case. I've been enjoying my time with it, and I intend to continue playing, and I definitely recommend checking it out. So, while I have been critical, none of these criticisms are meant to take away from what the mod and Revolution team have accomplished, but I'd be lying if I said it's without issues, many of which I believe can be resolved. I don't know if the team intends to further support the mod, though it is of note that the launcher does in fact have an update option, so it seems like a possibility at least, and I truly hope they do continue to improve upon it, addressing issues like the ones I've highlighted in this video. This mod has shown a promising start, and could become, official or not, the definitive way to play Vice City.